gonna break my soul. You think by now you would know that I ain't scared of nothing, scared of nothing, scared of nothing. No, I ain't ever running.
So let's get into it. Okay, so let's get to know you first and foremost. I mean, we just talked about your mom and the people, that have been responsible for who you are, really. And it goes down to right to your core. And
Yeah.
family is definitely that. So let's get to know a little bit about Madeline and where where you grow up, how you grew up, how you were raised, some of the important things that were really instilled into who you have become today, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So tell me a little bit about your history, Madeline, please.
Oh man, there's a lot that could go into that answer. I'm like trying to sum it up so that I don't have you on this Zoom for 3 hours. But I grew up in a really interesting household that I'm really grateful for because, first of all, I'm the oldest of 5 kids, and so I grew up with a lot of siblings. And I grew up in a mixed household. So my mom was white, my dad was black. And, we spent half of our lives in Santa Barbara, California. And, California as a state is very liberal minded. And then we moved halfway through my life to Texas, which is very conservative. And so I feel like there's a consistent theme in my life where me and my family were always like very unbiased. Like we were very much like always in the middle because we were just like, we had such a broad viewpoint, just growing up in different demographics, growing up in different atmospheres around different people that believe different things. And it made us more well-rounded, I feel like, as a family. And so we're able to like love people better and we're able to empathize better because we know that like there's always 2 sides to a story. Sorry, the dogs are barking, but I don't know, I'm really grateful for that because I feel like it gives us a lot of ability to just like really listen to what people need from you and listen to how they want to be loved, because you can always love someone how you want to be loved, but it's harder to love someone how they want to be loved. You know what I mean? Like it takes a different skill set and you have to really listen to people. You have to really like understand what they need. And so I don't know. I'm not saying that I'm any better than the next guy. I'm sure there are a shit ton of people that can do that way better than I can. But, I really value my family and just growing up with those values and the friend groups that we have around us now and the fact that we're still able to be a really close family. So I don't know if that totally answers the question, but
It 110% does, because I mean the first thing that comes to my mind, beautifully said everything you've just said as well, but the first thing that comes to my mind, Madeline, is openness and thinking about, again, like you said, wow, polarizing experiences coming from California and then to Texas, where it's like all of a sudden it's totally okay in California to be who you are and your family, your mixed family, right? And then to Texas where it's like, whoa. So with that being said, I can imagine the shock, number one, to y'all systems that must have brought you even closer together to because you had to stick together almost.
for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
But with that said, so you go to Texas, and now I'm wondering, okay, like you brilliantly said that going through certain experiences allows you to stay open to others' experiences, and you're kind of, it teaches you to be open-minded and, like you said, accepting of other people.
It just teaches you to have more grace.
Yes.
I think that's a hard concept sometimes, but you have to have grace with yourself first in order to have grace with other people. And I think a lot of people have a hard time having grace with themselves.
Wow.
We always think, I'm sorry, I'm getting too deep with it.
Don't you dare apologize. Go deep, go as deep as you possibly can with me for sure. Because that's why I wanted to talk to you. And the reason being, again, now it's all starting to come together within minutes. Because what's fascinating to me, and we're going to get into a conversation about country music, where it started, where it went, where it's going now. We're going to get into that conversation. Okay. But when we're talking about, that openness and grace and the, different views of the people that you were surrounded with or surrounded by in California and then Texas, then we go into music. And what I love the most about you in getting to know you just through bios is the fusion of styles of music.
Yeah.
They're so different. I mean, gospel not so much, but jazz, right? Especially, where did that come from? Where did your love and appreciation of, it sounds like, all different types of music come from?
My family, we always listen to different music. It's funny. My brother sent me, the brother right under me, who's also an artist. His name is Micah Edwards, and he's out of Houston, Texas. And he's like a perfect mix of like Charlie Crockett and Leon Bridges and like Gary Clark Jr. He's so cool. He has such a cool style. But me and my brother bonded a lot over music when we were younger. And just me and my siblings and my parents were always playing music in the house, like always, at all points. And he sent me this really funny voice memo of one of his like first core memories that he had. And he was 4 years old and he was riding with our grandpa and our aunt. And they said, what kind of music do you like? What's your favorite kind of music? And he was a 4-year-old kid that said, I really like smooth jazz. And he was just like, now that I think about that story as a grown adult, think about how funny it would be if you asked a 4-year-old kid today, like, what's your favorite kind of music? And they're like, I love Dave Koz, or I love Miles Davis, man. Like, I go hard with some Miles Davis,
Right.
But if a 4-year-old told me that, I'd be like, that's the coolest kid I've ever met in my entire life. And so we just kind of grew up as weird kids. I don't know how else to describe it. I feel like most interviews, I'm just like, yeah, we were like a family of weirdos, but we were like, we listened to Miles Davis. We were listening to John Coltrane. We were listening to smooth jazz. We were listening to the Beatles. We were listening to Bread, the Carpenters, the Bee Gees, Earth, Wind and Fire, Otis Redding. Like, we were listening to this massive array of just like old timey nostalgic music. And then obviously, it moves into soul, and then soul has this natural progression into country. And then if you're listening to country, of course you're listening to rock and roll. And then it goes to R&B, and then it goes to hip hop, and then you're right back at jazz where you started. And so I feel like it was just a natural progression, because music is a beautiful cycle that just keeps going. And that's why we keep seeing these genres and these beautiful sounds keep filtering back and again and again and again. So I don't know. I feel like it was bound to happen for me one way or another, just getting exposed to all these genres.
What's insane to me is that when we talk about, you said something that just struck a chord with me. And it was that you said, and obviously, goes into country. Most people do not see it that way. Most people find that there's like this huge separation between all these styles of music.
Yeah.
That it's like, here's a box, and here's, country, R&B, soul, gospel, jazz, hip hop, rock. You said it brilliantly. Naturally, it goes into country music. Can you elaborate on that right there? Because my question was going to be, so then why country, right? But you answered it because, well, of course, country, because that's where, when you go back to its roots, right? That's where country music got its, jazz, gospel, I think especially, and it's more about where country was birthed, right? But can you elaborate a little bit more in what you mean by obviously, and of course, that goes into country? Because I think a lot of people need to hear that. A lot of people from all across the board who are so divided. And music, again, you touched on a good point. Music, there is no division. Right. And I think we're starting to get that. And especially, I think country is the last, it feels, it feels like country is the last genre
For sure.
to get that. So elaborate on that, please, for me, Madeline, because that's brilliant.
I love that question so much. There's like 1,000 examples I'm thinking of. And the reason why I say it's only natural is because, have you seen the new Elvis movie?
Brilliant.
What did you think of it? Did you like it?
I am a big fan of Baz Luhrmann. He's my favorite director because the colors and the everything, and I enjoyed it for a lot of reasons. There were things I didn't know, things I did know that were kind of highlighted in a very, a very smart way. I think that a lot of people were kind of going, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, there's people probably like you and me who understood Elvis, right, going into this film, but after
we actually have we have an Elvis Presley thing on our wall up here, but
amazing.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I think that it's really cool. I thought that they did a really good job depicting like Elvis became what he was in country and in rock and roll and in modern whatever pop music, because he started off listening to gospel music in the church. Like, he grew up in a poor neighborhood,
Yes.
like, where do you think In the Ghetto comes from? Like, he had full on experience with that. And that's where he got his inspiration with this music. He was listening to Black music, what I mean? Yeah. And so it was really cool that they told the story in that way, because it was like, that's why it's so natural for these genres to be blending anyway. I mean, look at Chris Stapleton. A lot of people would argue that Chris Stapleton is not country. A lot of people would argue that he's soul, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Or R&B even. So the lines are already blending as it is, and they always have. I mean, they always have. It's, it's no coincidence that, the era of Otis Redding and James Brown was kind of around the same era as like the Carpenters. You know what I mean? Like, there was always like a very close relation.
I freaking love you. I just think you're so fucking awesome. Holy shit.
I'm sorry. I'm just speaking my mind, No,
sorries. You are brilliant. Oh my God. You have lit a fire, because not a lot of people get that. Yeah. Everything that you're saying. And when we talk about, race, what drives me crazy is when the conversation about race is tied to music. It drives me crazy, because there is no separation. It all blends together. And if we could just take a page and actually see music for what it is and is meant to be for us as a human collective, we would stop putting ourselves into different boxes, and we would stop dividing ourselves, and we would start seeing that we too, as a human freaking race, blend. We blend, right? I mean, you're the perfect example. I know there's a lot of people with families, mixed families. That's a perfect example. And it's like, when did it become over here, and why? And I mean, we could get into a whole conversation about that, just why, but I don't even care why.
Sure.
The point is that now, what do we do about it now? And then there's artists like you. Let me tell you, when you, Mickey Guyton and Brittany Spencer, stepped on that stage at the CMAs, there are people who probably didn't understand what that moment was. And even the people who understand that it was powerful really don't understand why it was powerful. For me, seeing it, being able to see women with y'all's hair, number one, oh my goodness, suddenly I'm seeing a reflection of myself represented on that stage. But then aside from that, again, going into the conversation of Black women and women of color, people of color in country, and white folks in hip hop. Beyond that was
Sure.
was the music.
Yeah.
It's the music, and that's really
Right.
what it was for me, is being able to see, oh, like, shoot, okay, right, like the doors are opening. And so when we talk about that, Madeline, and holy, you've just blown my mind. um like literally my head is like, I'm spinning on a hamster wheel. Like,
I'm
where do
sorry.
no, it's all good. Where do I go from here? This is the kind of conversation I love, because my brain is stimulated. And that's
Well,
brilliant.
I did want to make one comment going
Please.
back to what you said about the division and why is race tied to it? Like, why does
Yeah.
that have to be a part of it? One thing that, I've been doing, and I'm really grateful to my team for encouraging me and empowering me in this. I have a really great team surrounding me, and they're just like, they're really awesome about just giving me this beautiful canvas to paint my story and to paint my picture. But, I told them, I think it's really important for people that look like me to be represented in country music, obviously. Like, that's very, very important. But at the same time, you have to like create this equal balance of like, I want to make sure that people like me are represented, but also I don't want it to always be about my race. Like, are you interested in signing me because you have a quota to fit another Black woman on, on this panel or on this thing or whatever? Or are you actually interested in me because of my music? And having to create the narrative, like, I want you to be interested in me for my music and my story, and because it's just really good, other than like, I'm just a quota filler for you, and you just, want to feel good about your, your conscience. You know what I mean? That's not a void I'm willing to fill. I want to make sure that y'all are doing it for the right reasons. And so it's been really cool being able to show people like, this is important, but let me show you why this is important. It's because then we're leaving a path for other people that look like me, little girls that look like me, or little girls that even don't look like me, to be like, wow, I can see myself fitting in this space now. And I always wanted to, but I never felt welcomed. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
Good point. Good point. I'm a Black woman in country music radio, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel that all the time. I'm good at what I do. Let that speak for itself, right?
Yeah.
And when you look at me, I mean, you can tell I'm a Black woman. That speaks for itself, right? But let my work also do the talking.
For
and
sure.
I think that's important. And so, and now getting into the Wolves, and I'm going to be completely real with you. So the CMAs, there's that moment, and then it was great, and then you move on. I moved on, right? And so you see Mickey Guyton, and then you see Brittany Spencer, and then keeping it real, right? Madeline Edwards wasn't a name that I consciously recalled. Then I do a feature every Friday called First Play Friday, and you get music sent to you as a music director, and but for me, I like digging. So I go through music and I listen to a whole bunch of music like bright and early Friday morning so that I can narrow it down to 6 songs.
Sure.
A song popped up, and it was the Wolves. And I was like, oh, yeah, this is the sound. Because it reminds me, there's a few artists that it reminded me of. Cassie Ashton, for one. There's Carly Scott Collins that we have in rotation right now. There's like that influence of like, again, that jazz, and so it stuck out. Then I saw the cover art, and then I saw the name, and then those two things were secondary to the song. And I was like, this is Madeline Edwards. And that same Friday, Mickey Guyton had released her new single, right? And so that was featured. And I said to my mom, I said, without even realizing it, 2 out of 6 artists that were featured were Black women. And I didn't even, it was just about the music. And so I'm glad you bring that up, because for me in that moment, that's when I knew
for sure
that things have changed already, because it wasn't looking for that representation.
Right.
It just happened.
I agree.
And that is what's most important. I heard a song, I liked it. I heard Mickey's song, I liked it. And it just so happened that that day, 2 out of 6 were Black women.
Yeah.
Pretty damn cool. And
That's
it wasn't
amazing.
right. And it wasn't about that. It
Yeah.
just was not about that. So I really appreciate you bringing that up, Madeline, because that is a very important thing. You want your music and you want your work, which is absolutely phenomenal, by the way,
Thank
to
you.
speak for itself. And it does. And it does. And now this conversation for me absolutely does. So,
Thank you.
so absolutely. So in talking about the Wolves in particular, because this is the song that we are getting a lot of requests for right now, because it's an important message. Tell me about what you were feeling putting this song together.
Yeah.
And what it means for you now that it's out.
Oh man, those are 2 different questions. Yeah, I have 2 different answers for them too. Dang. Well, when I first wrote this song, I wrote this with two writers here in Nashville, actually, Emily and Gavin. And honestly, we were just kind of discussing. I had just gotten announced, or I'm sorry, I think I had already done a couple dates with Chris Stapleton, and we were, doing a lot of stuff. We were getting announced on, CMT's Next Women of Country. We were, having these interviews and whatever. And they're like, how are you feeling with everything moving so fast? And I was just like, I don't know. I feel like I'm, having to be really true to being this artist of what I feel, what I want my art to represent, and how I'm supposed to be telling my story, but also how I'm supposed to love people through my music while telling my story, and staying true to that. And I kind of feel like I'm getting thrown to the wolves. Like, I feel like everything has been moving so quickly and so fast that I'm having to make these really crazy decisions in such a short amount of time. And so I was like, I feel like I'm just kind of getting thrown to the wolves right now. But they were just like, that's a great song idea, and ended up writing it, and it ended up being amazing. And Ryan Tyndall and Oscar Charles, they, produced it out, and I was just in love with it. So what it means to me now is, I honestly, now it's kind of like, I feel like I have this time in Nashville to almost prove myself. I came on the scene, and I feel like people were kind of like, who is this girl? Like, what in the world? She hasn't even been here that long. Like, what's the deal with her? But I've had a little bit of time to show them, like, I've put in the work, and I've put in over 20,000 hours at this. And in Houston, I was playing in piano bars and steakhouses, and I was putting in time, and I was playing 4 or 5 hours a night, and writing my own music by myself, and trying to learn how to produce my own music by myself. And it was a lot, dude. It was just a lot. So now I feel like, with a little bit of time under my belt now in Nashville, throw me to the wolves. It's kind of more like, this is who I am, and this is the story I'm trying to tell, and this is who I want to be. And if you have, an issue with it, like, I'm not scared of that. You know what I mean? It's kind of more empowering now, more so than just, trying to make a statement to myself. I don't know if that makes any sense, but
it does. And it does. And it leads me to another question too, Madeline, because again, what's interesting is that, as fans and as listeners, we get a song, and we like it, and then we fall in love with the artist, and then that's it, right? It's so instantaneous for us that we don't really understand the process and journey for the artist, right? Mm-hmm. And so yeah, I can imagine the grind for you has been such, there's been challenges. I mean, all of us go through challenges in whatever we choose to do, but you've had to grind. Yeah. And so, like, for us, we're kind of like, oh, here she is suddenly with this amazing song, and but that's not the case. And so my question now to you is, yeah, you found yourself really thrown to the wolves, because this music industry is definitely like a wolf pack, right? It can be,
yes,
it can be, right. But for you, where do you think the momentum started for you? Where do you think, again, because I hear the Wolves, I see you on the CMAs, and then you've got your self-titled EP and The Road, which blew up, right?
Yeah.
For me, I could say, and I could guess that's probably where the momentum started. But where do you think, and what moment or moments do you think started the momentum? I mean, it could have been even 10 years ago or when you were a kid. Like, where did it start for you, do you think, for your career to that led to now, right now?
Oh, shoot, dude. No one's asked me that before.
Yeah, I'm curious.
It's a really good question, MJ. Dude. Okay, well, honestly,
Yes. Yeah.
I feel like it started during COVID. I know this sounds really stupid, but I had a really, I was obviously playing in piano bars and stuff like that in Houston, and I was making a decent living doing that. Where if I decided I wanted to do that for the rest of my life, I probably could have done a good job at it. And honestly, I feel like I had just a really bad attitude about it. I think I was kind of like, I want to be a recording artist and I want to do this, but I don't want to put in the time for it. And I think I should be on that talent level that takes people years to get to. But I wanted to be there. I wanted to be there then now, and the thing is, like, the kind of artists I look up to, like Stapleton, he put in years of work. Like that man put in probably like over 50,000 hours worth of work to get where he is. And that's why I look up to him so much. I feel the same way about Shania. I feel the same way about like Robert Glasper or, Etta James, or, if you're going even further back in the catalog, Ella Fitzgerald even, so I feel like the momentum started when COVID hit because I had a really bad attitude about work and life and producing my own music and not being grateful for what I had and the opportunity to get paid to practice, And once COVID came and all that got taken away and I didn't have a job anymore and I wasn't making any money and I was like, man, I was really ungrateful for what I had. And then I learned, as soon as stuff started coming back and as soon as I was able to get back to work and play again, I had a whole new different attitude about it. Like I was so grateful for it. I was getting better at producing my own music. That's when I started writing country music, like seriously, because I felt like, oh shit, with all this life lesson, like we got to put this in. We got to show people that we learned something this time. And so I felt the momentum going because I think I just had a better, more optimistic, positive outlook on life at that point, and then things just started kind of spinning into place. I don't know how to really describe that, but I feel like that's what happened.
You're an amazing human being, and that was so honest. And the reason why is because you were humbled, girl. That's why. I mean,
yeah, dude, of course I was humbled.
You were humbled, right? And there are moments in every one of our lives. Whether I don't know what y'all believe in, it doesn't matter to me what you believe in, a higher power, wherever it comes from. We are all given a moment. And I think collectively, when COVID, it was like that was the moment for a lot of people. But even it wasn't for some, where they didn't look at it like it was just like, "Whoa, it was me," and "Oh, this sucks," and whatever. But no. You needed to be checked.
Yeah.
Right. You needed to be checked. And we all are given an opportunity for us to check our ego at the door. And only when that ego comes crashing down, where you're like, oh, I'm not making any money. I thought I was the bomb. Right. And now I'm not making any money. What do I do? Right.
Yeah.
It's that crash. It's that ego, just whoa, that makes you go, okay, who am I? Really, and who do I want to be, and what kind of a person do I want to be? And oh my gosh, you were humbled, Madeline. And I think that answer, I've never even asked that question before. Something about your story inspired me to ask that, and I think that that's the most brilliant and most honest answer you could have given. When, the momentum started when I got knocked the F down.
Dude, yeah. Yeah, I feel that pretty hardcore. I appreciate that question, actually, more than you know. I actually haven't had time lately to reflect on that. And I'm really grateful for that time in my life now because of that. But thank you for asking that. I have a really cool song, actually, I would love for you to listen to. It's called My Ego Dies in the End by Jensen McCrae.
Ooh.
And when I tell you, you're going to listen to this song and you're going to email me later and you're going to be like, I cried while I was listening to it. And I popped open a bottle of wine and I listened to that shit again and I cried again.
It is Friday, and that is my plan. Literally, after we are finished here, I'm going home. I've got a bottle of wine waiting for me, chilling in the fridge. I might sit down, have a little, sparkle, and I will dive into it because even the title. But yeah, like a lot of what we've gone through in the last little while, Madeline, is that is the ego dying, and I think not just individually, collectively, because even the music that's come out, a lot of artists are going, F it, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to just conform to this and that. And it's because during the, in 2020 and 2021, our egos collectively, we got checked hard. We thought life was grand and especially in North America. Americans, we're all like, our problems were gas prices and whatever. And then all of a sudden we can't hold each other, touch each other, be one with one another. And we had to look inwards. We couldn't even point the finger at each other anymore because we were in our own houses looking at ourselves in the mirror going, oh, girl, you suck. Yeah. Like, it isn't that person. It's for you. Sure. Yucky, right? We all got checked hard. And now that's why I think your answer was brilliant, because the momentum after that collectively has just been insane to watch, right? But individually, for you, bang on, amazing. That's why The Wolves is an anthem, because it's like, yeah, I'm ready. You know what? Cool. Throw me to the wolves. I am ready. I can handle it. And I think all of us, to some degree, Madeline, feel that. Yeah. Which is why your song is resonating so much here up north in a small city, Winnipeg in Canada. We love it.
That's amazing. Man, that feels really good. Thank you for saying that.
Very welcome. And every word of it, I mean, from my whole heart. So with that, Madeline, I'm gonna I know you've been busy writing and getting ready for it. Can we look forward to, I think you might have mentioned it, an album soon with like full of your brilliant mind?
There is a full-length album coming out very soon. I'm going to be releasing the date for it. Oops, sorry, my laptop's all over the place. I'll be releasing the date for it pretty soon here. I would say be looking for that in the next, week or so. And yeah, it's going to just be a collection of songs that I've been writing over the last couple of years, and these awesome songs with these songwriters that I've been working with in Nashville and all over the place in Texas. And it's amazing. I'm so excited for this record to come out.
Well, I'm certainly excited for that. And I'm even more excited that you didn't tell me 6 months from now. I'm the most impatient person. So the fact that you're like,
anyway, very soon.
Yeah, very soon. I very much appreciate that. And
MJ, you are an absolute delight, my friend. I would love anytime I'm up in Winnipeg to go get a drink or something, please.
Oh, you got it. You 100%. That is a day. And if I'm ever, you're in Nashville, right? Like mostly. Yeah. I'm literally, people are like, you're coming down here, right? I am planning a trip down there. So when I am there, we will connect, in person for sure. Because I just find you are an absolutely brilliant, brilliant woman. And
I'm not that brilliant, but thank you.
Let me tell you something. You take that compliment because it's very rare where someone has literally, I have such an ego right now. It's rare when someone blows my mind, and you have literally done that. And so I'm going to take a lot that you've said away today, feeling really, really good about the human race because of this conversation.
Oh man, dude, that's amazing. Thank you. Thank you for saying that.
Many blessings.
That warms my heart.